Okay, I am attempting to use my foil quill, which usually goes inside of my Cameo. I had my husband cut down all the tips. There was very little exposed, and the problem is I couldn't really see so much what I was doing. So I had him cut these all back, which doesn't impair them at all to use with my Cameo, but it sure helps me using them manually. I didn't want to have to invest, since I'd already bought these, I didn't want to have to invest in buying the manual pens, and these work just fine. I have it plugged in now, and it's heating up. And what I'm going to do is I have this painted paper down here that is the deli wrap paper. I have made this stencil using my Cameo. I use my Cameo an awful lot, and I had made this stencil for other things. The stencil happens to be made out of laminate. I saw on YouTube, and I wish I had saved her address. Maybe I can find it and eventually post it on a YouTube video, but she pointed me toward a stack of these that you can buy at Amazon very, very inexpensively. You have to have a laminating machine because you take the two sheets that you can't tell they're two half the time because they're stuck so close together, but you run them through the laminator and then you cut through them, and the Silhouette Cameo does a fabulous job. I don't know if you can see that, but let me see if I can find something that might enable you to see the design. Yeah, this is a black, so this is the design. Now, because it's heat laminated, I'm thinking that it may be useful to use with the foil quill. So I'm experimenting with this right now. That's what I'm about to do. So there's the design. My foil quill is heating up. And in a minute, I will use this foil. I'd gotten this foil, I think, through AliExpress. You can see there's tons of it. The problem is, of course, it's not very wide. It's only about, let's see, maybe excuse me, an inch and an eighth inch wide. But we'll see if we can't make it work. So that's what I'm attempting to do. And so here I go. I think it may be heated up enough. Now, I am using a magnetic sheet that I also bought to use with my Cameo. And, well, it's a bit of a struggle because these magnets, which hold things down very nicely, that you get with them, and it holds things down really well. If you have them under those rollers, and frankly, I have a heck of a time. I have an older Cameo, and moving those rollers, those white rollers that are on that rod, is nearly impossible for me. In fact, I have forgotten how to do it, so that causes a problem. But the magnet strips really do hold the foil down very well. So here I go. I am going to take a piece of my foil and take this little tape off there that holds the end of it, and I think I will just run some pieces. The nice thing about this painted paper is that this foil does want to, it doesn't stick to it necessarily, but it doesn't really require anything much to hold it down. Let me see if I can cut several pieces of it so I don't have to work with a long sheet. It doesn't want to cut very easily. So let me see, a few more. Yeah, and a few more. Yeah. Okay, so now I've got the foil. I have my stencil. I'm trying to work around a light and the camera. So I'm going to put the foil down this way. And I'm not going for perfection here. I'm just going to experiment. Ideally, if I could get these two close together, and I might just use this magnet. Yeah. One up here And this magnet that you probably cannot see, there's another one down here. And I can just kind of take my stencil out of the way, smooth it all out, and fasten it down this way. All right, I'm going to put my stencil on top. Let me see if I can get this done right. And just go. I think I might just take this one off and put it right on the stencil. The magnetic sheet is useful, and it's strong enough so it can hold. It's a strong enough magnet, but the problem is it doesn't like the. So now I've got this piece. So let's see what I can get. And I probably should start in some kind of place where, let me see, where I can keep track of what I'm doing more easily, but I probably won't. All right, so what I'm doing is running slowly, relatively slowly. Now I'm just going for the outline. Now it doesn't mean I couldn't fill these in, and just sort of like running a couple of 3 times around each of these holes, which will create some kind of floral motif when they're all filled in. But if it doesn't, it's still interesting in terms of an abstract design, frankly. So I don't have any problem with it. And if I should have taken enough of the gold foil and filled up the whole stencil. But I'm just trying to see if this works. As you can see, I've already lost track of where I've been with it. I'm going to fill this in. I'm going to fill the, this is probably not going to work. I'm working off of a very flimsy table and an even flimsier gooseneck cable holding my camera. So by doing all of this, it's wiggling everything around. And oh, I can see the camera work is I need a stand that's separate from my table. But I've made lots and lots of stencils, and I've cut out a lot of cardstock on my Cameo. And because I hardly ever throw anything away, I kept the cardstock from which motifs and various things were cut. And that's what I used in the previous video, very quick video that I showed. It was the cardstock from which a branch of leaves were cut out, and that enabled me to get a stencil and do exactly what I'm doing now, except it was a smaller piece. I'm not doing a very good job because I'm worried about the camera. Probably too worried about the camera. But anyway, some people will complain. But remember, I don't do this, frankly, to establish any kind of a monetization on my channel. I'll tell you what I do it for is, actually I like talking to myself, apparently. And sometimes I can't remember what I did and how I did it when I go back. And these little videos that I make are for me. However, if they're useful to other people, I'm happy about that. If they're not, that's okay too, but I'm not out to produce the wonderful videos that I rely on so much on YouTube. And I apologize for that because that just isn't my thing. When I learn something, I want to pass it along or record it for my own use and knowledge. And so I don't know that you can see what I'm doing, but you can see the difference down here, can't you? I may not be getting the fill I want, because I could get my head a little closer. But you're going to see it in a minute. I just wish I had not attached this camera to this table. I have another table over there. I'm going to next time try something a little bit different, but what I'm doing is I decided not to do the outline. I'm just moving my pen around and filling in these little tiny holes from the stencil, which is amazing. Now, one thing I will say is the tip does not seem to be burning anything on the stencil. As I said, it's a laminated piece, so it has been through some pretty high heat going through the laminator before I cut the stencil. And because it is some sort of heat resistant plastic, I thought it would be great for stencils to do this with. But let's just see. I know I'm not getting it all done because there's a lot of holes on here. Okay, well, and I do apologize. The camera's going to drive somebody crazy. Well, just cut it off if you get the idea of what I'm doing. If this is driving anybody nuts, please don't watch it. And don't get migraine headaches from all this movement. If I were just doing the outline like this, I wouldn't shake it up so much. But since I want to fill it in, all right. So now let's see what I've got. I'm going to move my stencil up, and as you can see, I've done an interesting little job of it, right? Can you see? Yeah, I think so. And there you go. Now, it doesn't look like flowers, but I don't mind it. I like the pattern anyway. Maybe if I did the whole thing, but I like the fact that it's a it looks like a random, but there really are flowers. These are the interior of flowers, for example. And I might have missed one in there. Let's see. Yeah, I did. But anyway, so the idea is it works. And I can just go ahead and do some more all over this paper. So this paper can be used for projects. And the background is nice. Can you see the pretty? Yeah, you can see the pretty design. It almost looks like a chrysanthemum and a daisy down here. But I'm going to do some more, but for purposes of this video, I will not bore you. Maybe I'll look at a way of securing the camera to someplace different so it doesn't wobble. But anyway, I might try it again. We'll see. But for purposes of experiment, thing is working out really well, and I love it. That's it for now.